There's a spirit of energy and vigor in the mountains that the mountain man sought to find. And today, that spirit's embodied in Laramy Miller, Sasquatch. He springs from the era when the trails were new and survival hinged on the ability of a man to make his own way in the wilderness. Sasquatch kindles the spark of the time when men in buckskin roamed these summits. He leaves his prints where no one has since centuries before, hunting for the old spirit of the country, living by his own devices, meeting the wilderness on its own terms. So he rides the trails in search of the dream of outer solitude and lives the way men once did on the trail of the mountain man. Wapiti, Shawnee for white rump, the crowned head of the mountain man's big game. And this is the realm in which the Wapiti, or elk's throne, sits. As they say up here, a man afoot is no man at all. And Laramy Sasquatch Miller means to be on horseback.
You know, a scout here, he's just your normal quarter horse. But when it comes to these mountains, there ain't nothing really normal about him. He'll carry me around these mountains all day long. You could ride up next to a bear and this son of a gun wouldn't blow up.
Some equate the mule with the hazardous and the ludicrous combined in equal proportions, but Laramy knows better.
You know, these mules are something else. They're a cross between a horse and a donkey, but they have the best traits of both animals. You don't have to shoe them because they've got hard feet just like a donkey. And they've got tons of sense when it comes to, you get on the side of a mountain, they won't blow up and hurt themselves. A horse will blow up and might knock both of you off the cliff, but a mule, he's smart enough not to do that. The biggest key when you're packing a mule like this is you want to make sure you get both your sides even, and you want to make sure you get it really tight or you're going to have one heck of a rodeo. They're an amazing critter. That's why I always pack with them, because they're so durable you don't have to worry about anything else.
With his pack string, Sasquatch heads into the high country, where the Wapiti bugle with rage and lust. Laramy has his own elk bull bugle he's made by hand. He commences with a buffalo horn. For the cover, he traces and cuts buckskin by hand. He even fashions his own natural glue himself. The heart travels, they say, at the pace of a horse, giving Laramy time to prepare for the hard country ahead. And it was always hard country for the mountain men who came before Laramy. They needed all their tools, from hawking to skinning knife, just to stave off starvation, and their traps to make their fortunes. Every bend in the river held another promise and another peril as they plunged into mapless territory, where they met the red man, who could be friends or deadly foes, and always only from waited to tear scalps, shatter bones, rip bellies, and leave a man alone with only hands and knees to crawl out on. The mountain man, wrote Francis Parkman, lived without a law to protect, a roof to shelter, or a garment of cloth to cover him. Even his hunting weapons he could make himself.
What I got here is an Osage orange stave. is I'm gonna get center. That's the first thing you wanna do. Once you've got it shaped, you wanna find center. That way you know how to tiller your limbs. Starting to try to split, so I need to work it the other way to get it smooth from the other side instead of working down, because all it'll do is flake off. Then your bow's gonna be too skinny. If you haven't figured it out by now, what we have here is the makings of a true mountain man longbow, all out of one stave.
Now at daylight the next day, it's time for Sasquatch to take up his bow and climb to the peaks, the castle of the Wapiti.
Pretty cool. If you look right here, you can see where a bear climbed up this tree, running from something.
Never drop your gun to hug a Bruin, they say, and Laramy is keeping his bow at the ready and stalking with added care to silence his footfalls as he advances into the territory of the bear. Up here in the shining mountains, the northern Rockies, it takes only a horse, a knife, and a rifle or bow for mountain man Laramy Miller to survive. That, and keeping his wits about him.
It's boo-boo. Gotta love the Rocky Mountains. There's no telling what you're gonna walk up on. Look, you got bears like that, you got moose, grizzly, wolf, mule deer, whitetail, bighorn sheep, mountain goats, and of course the quintessential animal, the elk.
Did Sasquatch just say quintessential?
I'm gonna try to sneak around him. I don't wanna bug him too much.
Sometimes in the mountains, it's better to know you're alone, especially if company's a bear.
Just look out across there. All you gotta do is take one look to know that this truly is God's country. And there's no place I'd rather be.
And it is the place that is the true home of the Rocky Mountain elk in all its stately glory. And these are the parks in which the bull elk advertise themselves and where they bugle their challenge to other bulls to come to battle. But today, in the fall heat, the parks are empty and the slopes fallen silent without the calling of the elk.
It's really hot out here. It's probably 70 degrees. And these elk are just like us. When it gets hot, we get lazy. We just want to lay around. We need to get some cold weather to push them down, get them talking again. But if it doesn't, it's going to be dang near impossible.
Yet even with the sun blistering down, Sasquatch isn't about to give up the hunt. man gets hungry enough, a squirrel can look big, even without antlers.
He's taunting me.
Might be time to stop squandering arrows.
Well, I had plans for squirrel dumplings tonight, but I guess I'm gonna have to find something else to put in them dumplings.
A man can see the backbone of the world from up here, but not an elk that's in range. Every cloud has a silver lining, and these clouds could get elk moving.
As you can tell, we got weather coming in. Well, that's just what the doctor ordered. It's been really hot, nasty. These elk haven't been bugling at all. The rut hasn't hit. Well, hopefully that weather will bring a cold front and turn them bulls on. Well, I got the weather I wanted. It's time to go find a nice warm spot under a tree somewhere. Get the heck out of this before we get too cold. When it's coming down like this, you find the closest pine tree and get out of that rain, because, well, lightning too. I tell you what, I'd rather be underneath a tree than out in the middle of the open right now.
Where the Wapiti are, high up in the northern mountains, Laramy Sasquatch Miller has bears to contend with and wild, blustering weather. But it's a storm that may bring out the elk.
Nothing like fall in the Rocky Mountains. You know, the worst thing you can do is stay wet in the woods, so I need to go find a place to start a fire and dry out my clothes. Nothing like some good old fatback.
They call it the high lonesome for good reason. Gives a man room to contemplate his future or his fate. In these harsh climes, survival dangles from a silk thread, and game is a magical thing that can disappear without reason, leaving a man to starve or resort to desperate measures, meaning sometimes his best friend, a horse, may have to be sacrificed. But there are other times when he and his fellows gather, telling tall tales around the campfires, trying not to think what the cost of survival might have been. Up here, a mountain man's best friends are not always human. or even animal, a good fire can be a lifesaver and a great comfort.
The hunting's been real tough. It's been way too warm. Wind's been swirling real bad. I did hear a bull bugling in this meadow last night, though. I'm gonna sit here and wait for him to come out. That way, when that bull does bugle, hopefully the wind's coming down and I can move in on it. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we get a shot.
But before the elk was the making of the bow.
As you can see, I got this bow just about where I want it. And the rest of my tailoring is gonna be done with this rasp to fine tune everything and make this bow look pretty. Okay, what I'm gonna do before I put that glue on the back of this bow is I'm just gonna rough it up a little bit so that that glue will be able to adhere better to the wood. Well, as you can tell, this doesn't happen overnight. What you wanna do, you wanna do one limb at a time, and don't be stingy with your glue. I mean, make sure you put plenty of glue on there. Okay, and what you do now is you want to let this set up so that it'll dry and that sinew will actually stay. Then you put another layer of glue and another layer of sinew.
Far up along the crest of the Rockies, Laramy Sasquatch Miller is tracking elk through the last sweltering days of fall until the weather breaks. Now, Laramy goes out from camp once more to listen for whatever bugle might be lifted on the wind. What was a good sign suddenly goes silent.
I can feel that wind switch. It's hit me right in the back right now. I had that bull bugle down there, but he must have been coming in. The wind switch, he probably smelled me. It's about that time the thermals are changing. You know, in the mountains, the thermals, in the morning, that cold air is all sinking to the valley bottom, so your wind's blowing down. Well, as soon as that sun comes up and it starts warming up, the hot air starts rising. And so your wind will switch and it'll start blowing back up the mountain, and we got caught right in the middle of it. That's one thing about the Rocky Mountains, them thermals will mess you up. You can never fool an elk's nose. Mom used to always tell me, you can hear you 3 times, see you twice, they'll only smell you once.
At last, there in the brush, the bull's coming.
He's coming down that hill. If I'd had a compound, he would have been dead. This whole longbow, 30, 35 yards, that's my max. I told myself before I even came out here that was my max. It's tempting to take that shot when he's right there, but if you're not comfortable with it, don't take it. That's the ethical thing to do. He won tonight. I'm going to back out of here. I don't want to blow him out of here. I want to come back and hunt him tomorrow.
Laramy Miller returns to the company of his fire. The night drapes a black cloak around his shoulders, and the only sound is the roar of the fire and the sizzling of the fat back in the kettle. Tomorrow, at first light, Sasquatch will pick up his bow again and be off to the shining mountains, on the trail of the Wapiti and freedom.